Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to introduce ourselves to the annual report. So you may be thinking, okay, what is an annual report? You might have heard in accounting, you might have heard people referring to, say, the financial statements or the financial filings. And you hear those terms a lot, but what you might also hear among the investing community is the phrase, the annual report. And so the annual report is actually the form of communication that gives the corporation's financial results, position, and any other pertinent material information to investors, okay? And so when you hear things like financial statements, that's part of the annual report. If you hear about something called management's discussion and analysis, that's part of the annual report. In fact, some of the main pieces of the annual report I have listed down here. There's a generic section all about the business and information that is pertinent to the risks of the business, the main ways of generating revenue to the business, the main competitors to the business, so forth and so on. Management's discussion analysis, which talks about trends in the business. You've got the auditor's report, which signs off on whether those financial statements that you're going to see as part of this annual report, whether they are fairly presented in accordance with, in the United States, US GAAP, right? Generally accepted accounting principles. You've got the financial statements themselves are part of the annual report. You've got a huge section called the notes to the financial statements, which contained all kinds of additional supplementary information that go with the financials. And then you've got all kinds of miscellaneous other information way at the back of the report. So you might hear people talk about the financial statements, talk about financial filings, but what they're really talking about at the end of the day, if they're talking in an annual sense, not like a quarterly sense, is they're talking about the annual report. And all these things that we're mentioning are all just components within this really big report that publicly traded companies are required to issue once per year. So I'm not going to go into the details of all of the sections of the report in this video. Instead, I'm going to introduce you to how do you get the annual reports of companies. And the first way to do that is through what's called EDGAR. EDGAR is a document retrieval system by the SEC where all companies file their annual reports to make them publicly accessible to investors, to the general public. So let's go ahead and meet EDGAR. All right, what you see before you now is just a standard Google search page, okay? You could memorize the website address for the SEC EDGAR system and go straight to that website, but frankly, who memorizes that sort of thing? I know I don't. So anytime I want to go to the EDGAR system, I usually start at Google, and it's just as easy as typing SEC EDGAR into a Google search. Whoops, help if I spelled it right. SEC EDGAR, and I'm going to hit enter. And notice the first set of search results that come up. EDGAR Company Filing Search, sec.gov. Now, I could go there, and that brings you to kind of your main page for the EDGAR system. And notice front and center on this page is a search box. You can look up a company, you can look up a person, you can type the company name, you can type the company ticker symbol. And this is the first step to getting the company's annual report. So as an example, I'm going to use Apple, and I know their ticker is AAPL, so I'm going to type AAPL in here. And notice the drop-down menu that comes up, Apple Inc., AAPL. And so I'm going to go ahead and click that because that's who I want. And check it out. You have Apple Inc. It's collapsed right now, but I could uncollapse some company information, and notice there's some basic information that I could check to make sure that this is really the company I'm looking for. And then right beneath that, you've got latest filings. You've also got selected filings over on the right, and then you've got some instructions below. So latest filings over here just shows you the most recent filings that Apple has had. And I could click view filings. And then this brings me to the entire list of every filing in the system from Apple. And from there, I could search for what I'm looking for. Alternatively, over on the right, you see selective filings. And notice where it says 10K parentheses annual report. The 10K is the official document that is used to file the annual report. And so if I expand that, what you will see here is 4 reports. 10Q, 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 10K. All right. And so 10Qs are quarterly reports. They're filed at each quarter. 10K is filed annually. And so if you look at this right now, it seems like the last 10K that Apple filed was on October 30th, 2020. It's filed 3 quarterly reports since then. So just to give you a hint right now, I'm recording this video in August. So when October rolls around again, there's going to be a new annual report from Apple. They come out once a year, right? And so just to introduce you to the 10K, I'm going to go ahead and go with this October 2020 10K that Apple has. I'm going to click it. And here we go. We have got access to Apple's 10K or annual report. And it's long. If you look at the table of contents here, it looks like the last section starts on page 66. So there are some that are shorter. There are some that are significantly longer. But if you look at the various components of the annual report, you'll see like part 1 tells you about the business, the risk factors, properties that are owned, legal proceedings, so forth and so on. If you look at part 2, here's where the financial information comes in. It gives you some information about the stock. It gives you select financial data, but notice a little bit further down, it gives you financial statements and supplementary data, right? And so that's kind of your financial area. Then you've got part 3. Tells you a lot about the directors of the company, ownership, compensation, so forth and so on. And then part 4 is really kind of where your miscellaneous other is, an exhibit, schedule, a summary of the Form 10K, so forth and so on. So if you care about the accounting, if you care about the financials, part 2 is where you want to look. If you want to learn about the business, which is sometimes fascinating, part 1 is where you want to look. But this is it. This is how you get to the 10K for any publicly traded company. And these are hyperlinked. I can click one of these. So if I want to go straight to the financial statements, I can click that and boom, I'm at Apple's income statement. If I keep scrolling, that's their comprehensive income statement. Here's their balance sheet, so forth and so on. So that's one way to get to annual reports. Now, the SEC EDGAR system is not the only way that you can get a company's annual reports. Most large publicly traded companies will have some sort of investor relations website where you can also get that information. And one of the benefits is that it comes in a little bit flashier form, little snippets that you can look at. It's just a prettier system to interact with. But at the end of the day, you're still getting the same annual report, regardless of which one you go to. So let's take a look. Okay, so here I am back at Google again. And so this time, instead of searching for the SEC EDGAR system, I am going to simply type Apple Investor Relations. Usually this will get you there. Company name, investor relations. So let's just see. Hit enter. Oh, check that out. First result, investor.apple.com, investor relations from Apple. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that main site. And notice right away, this is just, it's prettier to look at than the EDGAR system. Like I said, you're not going to get any new information. It's all the same information, but it does come in a little bit jazzier looking package, right? And so you can see here some quick investor updates, some news announcements from the company that you might be interested in. And then right there, easily at your fingertips, financial data, quarterly earnings reports, annual reports, additional reports. And so most investor relations websites are laid out in a way where it's easy to find what you want. Let's say those reports hadn't been here on the main page. Notice up in the toolbar, SEC filings right there waiting to be clicked. That would have gotten us there as well. But I'm going to go ahead and down here and click it where we saw it. And so the 2020 10K is what we were looking at on the EDGAR site. So I click it here. Now notice this time, there's one big difference between what we saw on EDGAR and what we see here. On EDGAR, it was formatted for XBRL reporting language, okay? And in that respect, it was displayed as an HTML website. It was really small print. You had to zoom in and out and various things like that. Notice on Apple's website, the investor relations website, it came up as a PDF. And therefore, it's broken out with nice page breaks and that sort of thing. It's also bigger. Sometimes one of the benefits of going to the investor relations website, and I'd say one of the main benefits, is get these nicely formatted versions of the annual report. They're easy to read on a mobile device like a tablet or something. They're easier to print than what you see on the SEC website. So that's one of the main benefits of going to investor relations websites. But with that said, again, it's the same annual report. There's nothing in here content-wise that is different than what we found on EDGAR. So you can go to EDGAR, you can go to a company's website. Either way, you can find the financial information you're looking for. All right, that's it. Hopefully this will help you find annual reports in the future when you go looking for them. Hopefully you have a little bit of an overview of all the various things that are contained in the annual report. I will deep dive into those things in other videos, but for now, this kind of just gives you an overview and introduces you to this idea of the annual report and where to get it. So hope you found it helpful. Hope you join me for the next video.